Harvard University is suing the Trump administration over a freeze on billions of dollars in federal funding tied to the university's alleged failure to address anti-Semitism. The administration demanded reforms, including ending DEI programs, merit-based admissions, action against anti-Semitic incidents following the Hamas October 7 attacks. Students and watchdog groups have backed Trump's crackdown, while Harvard claims the administration is violating its First Amendment rights and its academic independence. The case has, of course, reignited national debates over free speech, anti-Semitism, and taxpayer-funded privileges. While some students support Harvard's resistance, others argue that basic reforms are long overdue and justified to restore safety and accountability on campus. Joining us now is Dr. Carol Swain, esteemed scholar, cultural critic, and author of the latest The Gay Affair, a powerful book confronting the erosion of national values through identity politics and moral relativism. Definitely check it out. Dr. Swain, how do you interpret Harvard's claim that requiring it to combat anti-Semitism is violating its First Amendment rights?
Harvard does not seem to realize that it has lost any moral authority that it ever had. And it is leading the decline in academic standards when it comes to higher education. We saw that with how they didn't handle the plagiarism situation with Claudine Gay and some of its other top administrators. And so I think it's time that President Trump shows Harvard University and other institutions that would emulate them that they are not allowed to violate constitutional rights and the constitutional and civil rights of their students, faculty, and staff.
Well, I'm glad you bring up the plagiarism scandal. That was the topic of your latest book. And it just seems like they have not really apologized for that incident. They have not really, taken into account the kind of PR fixes that they're going to have to embrace if they want to rectify that scandal, where the president of Harvard University was plagiarizing her way through her academic career. So, coming from that position, they are taking this very adamant stance that they will not be manipulated by anyone, and they are indeed the moral high ground. But at the same time, they are taking a hit here. I mean, have they become a little too accustomed to taxpayer money without being held accountable for how that money is used and spent?
Well, Harvard wants to have it both ways. It wants to get billions of dollars in taxpayer dollars. At the same time, they don't want to abide by the rules that the rest of us are expected to adhere to. And as far as Harvard and the plagiarism, it wasn't just about me. There were other administrators and faculty that have been involved in plagiarism. They have not been held accountable. Harvard has no moral legs to stand on.
Well, they haven't for some time, but it's rare that we get an instance where they're just showing it out in the open. And in this case, it seems like they are very much standing on the side of the pro-Hamas wing of society.
They are.
How do they justify any of that? How?
They don't have to justify it. They believe that they can do whatever they want. And other institutions are supporting them and lining up behind them because for the longest time, institutions of higher education have gotten a free pass. They've been able to take taxpayer dollars, claim that they are private institutions, they have their own constitutional rights, but at the same time, they're taking taxpayer dollars. And I believe, Chanel, that private institutions that take taxpayer dollars ought to adhere to the civil and constitutional expectations of public universities. If Harvard University wants to do whatever it wants in the world, then it needs to stop taking federal taxpayer dollars, become more like Hillsdale, and they will be able to get away with more.
Right. No, that's right. And so, yes, they're trying to have it both ways. I remember seeing there's a group that does these periodic tests or polls of faculty across the country where they try and determine diversity of viewpoints on campus. And I believe, I forget which study this was, but Harvard comes in very consistently at the very bottom of that list when it comes to academic diversity. There's a very, very small sect of the faculty that is not far left wing.
I mean, I think they do come in dead last, and I think it is the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, FIRE, that did that evaluation. And so Harvard, for the most part, it is a partisan institution. They took on the Trump administration not because I believe that they wanted the moral high ground. They want to line up as many Democrats behind them as they can. They also want to continue to take money from foreign governments and foreign nations. Many of those pro-Palestinian students are students that are paying their own way, or their governments are paying for them to be there. Universities don't want to give up the money that they're getting, and with Harvard, they need to be held accountable, and they also need to be forced to spend some of that $53+ billion endowment.
Right. I mean, it's one of the largest in the world, so I feel like they shouldn't be too concerned about losing some of the federal funds that have been going in, but it seems that they do. They do care about their many billions, even the one or two that are at jeopardy.
It's because they don't want to spend their own money. They want to spend your money and my money and every American taxpayer's dollars while they, grow their endowment. They're growing their endowment. They need to be spending some of that money. That should be their rainy day fund. And it's raining.
It is raining. Where do you see this all going? I mean, have you been surprised with how Harvard has navigated their relationship with the Trump administration so far? At first, it looked like they were trying to lobby and make good with Trump, and now it seems like they're taking a very open stance against him. That said, I just spoke with Professor Alan Dershowitz the other day, and he says that behind the scenes that Harvard is prepared to surrender. What do you read in terms of their public-facing actions so far?
Well, I mean, I guess a lot of it is position taking, the way politicians do. And if you watch the Democrats, they're in a hold. And what they do? They keep digging deeper and deeper. And I would say that Harvard is digging deeper and deeper. In the end, they will lose because not only do they not have the high moral ground, they are they're taking positions that run counter to the Constitution and the Equal Protection Clause. And so they need to be held accountable. And I think that the American people need to realize that DEI and affirmative action, that's behind what led them to get so involved with the groups that are dominating the campus, that are terrorizing Jewish students. It's a product of DEI. And my latest book, released on April 15th, is Diversity Without Discrimination: How to Promote a Culture of Unity in a Post-DEI Affirmative Action World. And whether Harvard and the other institutions know it or not, we are in a post-DEI affirmative action world. DEI is in death throes, so they should not spend so much time on trying to protect it and keep it and protect it.
Do you think that President Trump and his team are approaching this issue the right way?
Absolutely. And they should stand their ground. They are on the high ground. They will win. And you heard me say it here first, that President Trump will win this battle. Harvard might as well surrender.
Dr. Swain, always a pleasure to talk Harvard with you. Now we look forward to reading your new book. So we'll stay tuned for all of that.
Thank you.